Let's listen to Rachel Scott's question to Vladimir Putin about how he deals with his opponents.
If all of your political opponents are dead, in prison, poisoned, doesn't that send a message that you do not want a fair political fight?
As for who is killing whom or throwing whom in jail, people came to the U.S. Congress with political demands. 400 people, over 400 people had criminal charges placed on them. I'd like to stress once more that we sympathize with what happened in the United States, but we have no desire to allow the same thing to happen in our country.
Chairman Schiff, what was your reaction to that moment?
Well, look, it's the same kind of false equivalence that you hear from Putin. He makes those kind of bogus analogies all the time, comparing a opposition figure which his own regime poisoned and tried to kill, and then left the country to get treatment, and as a result is now being imprisoned at risk of his life, comparing that person who is fighting for the ability of Russians to be able to assemble and petition their government to people who attacked our capital, killed a police officer, and threatened so many others. But that's what we come to expect from Putin. Now, the nice change, frankly, is the reaction of our former president would have been to embrace that false equivalence, which President Trump repeatedly would do with Putin and Russia. But we have a very different president in Joe Biden, who I think pushed back very forcefully in the meeting with regard to our values, human rights, bringing up Alexei Navalny, even though Putin won't mention his name, and also making it very clear that the last 4 years were an aberration. The United States will stand up for its own interests, confront Russia over these ransomware attacks, over its belligerent conduct in Ukraine, and over its interference in our elections.
Ambassador McFaul, are Russians allowed to see these press conferences live and unedited? Did they get to see Rachel's question there about Vladimir Putin killing his enemies?
Yeah, I think that will be live, of course, because that's the presidential pool and that is live. And by the way, Lawrence, just on the protocol thing, remember the disaster of Helsinki was the joint press conference. The Biden team rightly decided to do separate press conferences. And an unintended positive consequence of that is that there were some fantastic questions from American journalists. I just want to give them a shout out in that press conference with Mr. Putin. It doesn't mean that the Russians will hear the answer the same way that we did, but I thought it was important to press them on that. And I thought that was very useful for the purposes of underscoring what our differences are, in addition to the small steps of agreement that we had here in Geneva.
Let's listen to what President Biden said about election interference by Vladimir Putin.
I made it clear that we will not tolerate attempts to violate our democratic sovereignty or destabilize our democratic elections, and we would respond. The bottom line is, I told President Putin that we need to have some basic rules of the road that we can all abide by. I also said there are areas where there's a mutual interest for us to cooperate. For our people, Russian and American people, but also for the benefit of the world and the security of the world. One of those areas is strategic stability.
Chairman Schiff, that strikes me as a classic example of the two sides of the coin that your president's always dealing with in this situation. He's delivering a very strong message about interference in our elections, but in the next sentence immediately refers to areas of cooperation that are necessary with Russia.
Well, that's exactly what you'd want an American president to do. And frankly, it's a language that Putin can understand. That is, Putin will now expect that when they get involved, if they get involved in trying to interfere in our next election, they will pay a stiff price, that President Biden will resist that and will impose costs on Russia and will use our cyber capabilities to disrupt what they may try to do. At the same time, President Biden and I think Putin recognize there are areas of mutual interest. And the fact that we have so many differences doesn't mean that we shouldn't pursue those common interests that we have, for example, in our nuclear arms and denuclearization. So this is exactly what you'd want a president to do. And I also think that having the dialogue is positive. Setting out where our red lines are is positive. And I certainly didn't go into this expecting there would be some breakthrough development. There wasn't. But I do think that within the realm of reasonable, that the president was able to accomplish what he set out to.